Happy New Year, everyone! And with the new year comes a great new update at Thalox. This is something that I'm sure you love. It's called Profiler, and it will give you much more data insights that otherwise would be difficult to get in HubSpot. Before going into the profiler, you know that the data model in HubSpot allows you to see as well all the associations between different objects. And if you go to a specific object and say view details, there's a tab that opens up and you can see the usage of your properties and how many properties with no data you have and properties unused that you have. So when you click in here, you can see that you need Operations Hub professional to get more insights into that data. So even though you can see which properties have been used or not, and if they have a value or not, you cannot really see much more than that if you don't have Operations Hub professional. Like the variance of those values and identify which properties you want to monitor closely. So now in the navigation menu, you have a new thing called Profiler. The first report that shows is the fill rate of your properties. Now we distributed that into different kind of thresholds of fill rates: 0, 1, 2 to 5, 6 to 50, and 51 to 100. And for each one of these rates, you can see the amount of properties that has this fill rate. With this here, you can export the data also. And in this export, you will see an Excel file with all the properties that have 0% fill rate, 1% fill rate, and so on and so forth. So basically there you can then filter by the custom properties that you created that have 0% fill rate. So maybe those you can just archive and delete. And also the ones you want to monitor closely. Let's imagine that industry is something that is very important for you because you're scoring that in your lead scoring model, or you're creating lists to send emails to people within certain industries. Then you figure out that only like 20% of your contacts have a value in that property. So the next step is you either enrich that data, and you can do that with Breeze AI, for instance, in this specific case, or you need to think about profiling campaigns to get that information explicitly from your customer. As I said, we give you direct recommendations on how to proceed in terms of these different fill rates. You can go here to this filter and choose the one you want to tackle first, and we give you direct recommendations on how to do it. Of course, you can as well talk to us to get more into it and to get strategic guidance. So the next one, also related to the properties, you have this table. So on the left side, you have property label, then you have the type of property, and then here you have the fill rate as well. So the export will not be available for all plans. So it will be available during the 30 days, but not for all plans. But for the ones who don't have the export function, you can see some of the fill rates here. Number of contacts with value, and then variance. So variance is really interesting because if you have a variance of 100%, let's take this example here, phone number. Phone number is a number field, so you can actually, so every phone number is different. That's what I mean. So the variance is really 100%. When we are talking about industry or billing info, probably not a lot of, so this is not a good example actually. But if we're talking about industry or lead status, for instance, lead status is a radius select, so it does have some predefined values. So the variance will be lower as well. And it's important to define like industry or job title or certain or lead source. So things that, especially in custom properties, that happens a lot. And sometimes you have free text field, and then you end up with tons of different values for that property. And with that, you cannot really do anything in terms of segmentation or scoring if you have like 100 different values or more. So ideally, you would think about putting that down into a drop-down list that you can then segment on later and actually work with that information. So basically, this kind of data is extremely important for you to normalize your data to be able to actually use it in an effective way for marketing and sales. All right, so next one here is the property value details. So currently we have job title. Why? Job title is probably one of the properties that are sometimes overlooked because in HubSpot you have the job title field that in fact is a free text field. So the type of the this property is a free text. So basically you can just put there whatever you want, and usually you only kind of come to the conclusion that you have tons of different values when it's already the damage is already done, right? So this is one of the best, let's say, examples of normalization and how that can really change your data structure. So in this example, there's really a lot of different values here, right? So CEO has 240, so it means that 245 contacts have CEO as job title, then founder CEO, then co-founder. So there's a lot of similarities between those values. So I could just say CEO and co-founder and put everything under that, right? So as marketing director, managing director, chief marketing officer, head of marketing, CMO. So chief marketing officer, head of marketing, CMO. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, so why just put it like that? So those kind of things you need to think to normalize it, and just look at this distribution of different values in this property is really insane. So this is a very good thing that you can actually go to your team or to your boss and say, look at this data. Job title is something that we need to have because we need to know who we are talking to. We need to know what our decision maker is. So we really rely a lot on this property to create segments or to score or whatever the use case is. So if this looks like that, you cannot really do anything with it. So I gave the job title as an example, and it's actually the one that you will see first, but you can as well change here for all the properties and see the value distribution of each one. Last but not least, contact details. Contact details with email address show the amount of contact records that have an email address. In this case, it's 93%, means that 7% doesn't have it. Especially if these contact records are associated with a company, that gives you the possibility to enrich with the email address. For the first and last name, 90% have it and the remaining 10 don't. So if you don't have that, especially those two properties which are often included in tokens, there's really low probability that you can actually personalize your communication effectively. You can also get that with profiling campaigns or as well enrichment programs. Here's another example. In this case, it's much better. It's 99%, but there's always room to improve. In both cases, you have an evolution graph to see if, in case you are working on enriching that data, you can see the evolution over time. And in both cases, you can press the Create Contact List button to automatically create this active list that will show you, in this case, the contact records that don't have an email address or the contact records that miss first or last name. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you want to see how it looks like for your data, you can also sign up today and run the 30 days trial. This is included in the trial.